for you on 7 News Tonight. KB, go home, the Director of Tourism given her letter. But what is it going to cost the BTB? And the IMF gives a brutal assessment of the Belizean economy in a freefall. But what does the BNTU have to say about it? Also, we all work extra hours. That's what the health minister had to say to public officers who complain that their extended shifts are sacrificed enough without the pay cut. Plus, yoga is gaining popularity right now. But what about naked yoga? We'll show you why one local practitioner is turning heads in the public and raising doubtful eyebrows in the yoga community. And from Solidarity Forever to Daggers Drawn, we'll look back at the history of John Briceño and the BNTU. These stories and much more are ahead on 7 News Tonight, so please stay tuned.
El contagio de la COVID-19 requiere que los negocios de todos los tamaños y sectores den máxima prioridad a la seguridad y salud en el trabajo. Los gerentes y empleados deben realizar evaluaciones de riesgos para identificar áreas y procedimientos que ponen en peligro las vidas y los negocios. 6 pasos para crear un lugar de trabajo seguro y saludable. 1. Identificar posibles fuentes de transmisión de virus. 2. Determinar quién podría estar infectado y cómo podría infectarse. 3. Discutir y decidir las medidas de prevención y control. 4. Implementar, comunicar y testear medidas. 5. Asegurar que el equipamiento de protección es adecuado para cada situación. 6. Mantener registros, revisar medidas y actualizarlas cuando sea necesario.
We must all do our part to slow the spread. A safe and healthy workplace is a better workplace.
Para obtener más información, visite www.covid19.bz. Un mensaje de la Cámara de Comercio e Industria de Belice y el Congreso Nacional de Sindicatos de Belice, en colaboración con la Organización Internacional del Trabajo.
The new Atlantic Bank chip and contactless cards reflect your payment needs. All Visa cards now include an embedded chip that generates a unique security code each time you perform a transaction, making it virtually impossible to copy your card. Use your card anywhere the Visa logo is displayed by either performing a contactless payment or a chip card payment. These new cards offer more security, acceptance, and convenience wherever you pay, giving you the peace of mind you need to enjoy life's special moments. Atlantic Bank chip and contactless cards. One card, 2 ways to pay.
Atlantic Bank, building the future together.
Preventing the spread of COVID-19 at work requires that businesses of all sizes and sectors put safety and health first. Managers and employees should conduct risk assessments to identify critical areas and procedures that put lives and businesses in danger. Here are 6 tips for creating a safe and healthy working environment. 1. Identify potential sources of virus transmission. 2. Determine who might be infected and how. 3. Discuss and decide prevention and control measures. 4. Make sure the safety equipment being used is right for the situation. 5. Implement, communicate, and test measures. 6. Keep records, review measures, and update when necessary.
We must all do our part to slow the spread. A safe and healthy workplace is a better workplace.
For more information, visit www.covid19.bz. A message from the Belize Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the National Trade Union Congress of Belize in collaboration with the International Labour Organization.
Congratulations to our Belikin Poppers Topper winners today. Continue popping those toppers out of Belikin for a chance to win free beer, $20, $100, or $1,000.
Papa Stopper!
Belikin, the beer of Belize.
During the COVID-19 pandemic, a safe and healthy workplace is a better workplace. It reduces the risk of infecting workers and visitors. An unhealthy workplace makes problems that are common to a pandemic even worse, such as increased workloads, longer working hours, isolation, domestic violence, stress, anxiety, and depression. On the other hand, a healthy workplace protects people, allows businesses to continue operations, and keeps communities healthy. You can do your part by following these steps. Wear a mask that covers your mouth and nose. Stay at least 6 feet away from others. Wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. Look out for and follow all safety instruction signs. Stay at home and away from others if you feel ill. Speak up if you do not feel safe.
It takes all of us to slow the spread. A safe and healthy workplace is a better workplace.
For more information, visit www.covid19.bz. A message from the Belize Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the National Trade Union Congress of Belize in collaboration with the International Labour Organization.
Yeah, I know him from before he in my womb. From I know he nobody ever disrespected him. Because then he is who he is. He is gay, he is friendly, and everybody respectable. Just respect him for who he is in a human being. Just the word hate means to me that no got no meaning because you know for hate. If I love everything, I appreciate. I live in Melopan, I live around Guatemalans, Hondurans, Spanish, Maya, Creole, Garifuna. As I said, growing up, right? They say love your neighbors. Neighbor need to look out for one another.
Durante la pandemia de la COVID-19, un lugar de trabajo seguro y saludable es un lugar de trabajo mejor. Esto reduce el riesgo de transmisión del virus entre trabajadoras, trabajadores y clientes. Los lugares de trabajo inseguros agravan los problemas durante la pandemia. Aumento de la carga de trabajo, jornadas laborales más largas, aislamiento, violencia doméstica, estrés, ansiedad y depresión. Trabajar de manera segura protege a las personas, permite seguir operando y mantiene a las comunidades saludables. Usted puede hacer la diferencia siguiendo los siguientes pasos: usando máscaras para cubrir boca y nariz, respetando el distanciamiento físico de 6 pies, lavándose las manos con jabón durante al menos 20 segundos, siguiendo instrucciones y señalización de seguridad y salud, quedándose en casa si está enfermo, diciéndolo si no se siente seguro.
It takes all of us to slow the spread. A safe and healthy workplace is a better workplace.
Para obtener más información, visite www.covid19.bz. Un mensaje de la Cámara de Comercio e Industria de Belice y el Congreso Nacional de Sindicatos de Belice en colaboración con la Organización Internacional del Trabajo.
Karen Bevans, she's the Director of Tourism since 2014, but reports tonight say she's been sent home after a letter of termination was prepared. Bevans was thought to be untouchable when the new government was elected because of the upper 6-figure value of her 5-year contract, which was renegotiated in 2019. If the BTB decided to fire Bevans without cause, they would owe her 3 years' worth of salary. That's over $500,000, not including all of her other remuneration and benefits that would have been due throughout the life of her employment contract. But the BTB may have found a loophole when it started to investigate her for alleged misuse of $400,000 in BTB pension funds to pay employee salaries in 2020. When we spoke to the chairman of the board at the end of February, here's how he put it.
The investigation is not only on the director, the investigation is of the pension plan and the monies that were used from the pension plan. Currently, we're in a position where we are getting legal advice on the matter, and as soon as we get that legal advice, then obviously we'll make a decision on the way forward. Well, basically, because it's under investigation and we're awaiting legal advice, then I cannot give you that information at this time. So once we get that information, we'll definitely share that with the media.
Again, that interview is from February 27th. Now, it is not known if that is what led to Bevan's reported dismissal, and neither Tillett nor Bevans would respond to requests for comment today. We'll keep following the story on Monday when an official statement is expected. The IMF has released its report after its most recent Article 4 consultations in Belize, and it is grim. The fund is forecasting a very rough road to recovery for the country's economy over the next 10 years. They are suggesting that if the ballooning public debt is not brought under control, there is a very real risk of devaluation. Here's how they put it. Failure to restore debt sustainability would put the fiscal position and the currency peg at risk of disorderly adjustment, end quote. In case you missed it, disorderly adjustment is a euphemism for devaluation. The report published on the IMF website states that the COVID-induced economic slowdown hurt all commercial sectors that are contact sensitive, which resulted in a GDP contraction of 14.1%. The increase in government spending to get the virus under control and the sharp fall in revenues led to an increase in the primary deficit from 1.4% of GDP in the financial year 2019-2020 to 8.3% in the financial year 2020-2021. The IMF says that there was a rise in public debt from 98% of GDP in 2019 to 126% in 2020, and there are projections that it will increase to around 133% this year. The current account deficit has narrowed due to a sharp contraction of imports and lower repatriation of profits from foreign-owned businesses. And the IMF team is projecting that recovery from the pandemic back to pre-COVID levels in 2019 won't happen until the year 2025. Tourist arrivals are expected to remain low for this year given the high level of COVID in Belize's main trading partners. Tourist arrivals are expected to pick up in 2022 when vaccines are more widely available in the rest of the world. The IMF team thinks that real GDP is expected to grow by 1.9% in 2021 and then 6.4% in 2022. Potential growth of 2% will return over the medium term. And then the IMF team alludes to the dreaded D for devaluation. That part of the statement says, quote, "The key policy imperative for Belize is to restore public debt sustainability and strengthen the currency peg. This will require a fine balancing act involving ambitious yet realistic fiscal consolidation, growth-enhancing structural reforms, and debt restructuring, all aimed at targeting a reduction of public debt to 60% of GDP by 2031. Such strategy would also improve reserve adequacy and strengthen the currency peg," end quote. The IMF team mentions that the Briceño government is strongly committed to strengthening the currency peg, and there is even a mention of the wage bill. As viewers are aware, that topic is a current sore point for teachers and public officers who are resisting the government's proposal of a 10% pay cut and an increment freeze for savings of $80 million. The concluding statement says that GOB is, quote, "appropriately focusing on reducing the wage bill and purchases of goods and services," end quote. This evening, the government issued a statement on the IMF's report, basically saying, "Don't blame me, blame the UDP." Their statement says, quote, "The previous government had borrowed some $700 million in the pre-election period of 2019-2020, and that the UDP left behind an economic and fiscal wasteland. There should be no remaining doubts about what this new administration inherited. The UDP borrowed for years to meet government's operating costs, including salaries. Those borrowings have reached 130% of annual GDP, or about $4.2 billion. The economy is sputtering. Unemployment is widespread. These conditions are clearly unsustainable. According to the IMF report, the recovery will require a fine balancing act involving ambitious yet realistic fiscal consolidation, growth-enhancing structural reforms, and debt restructuring, all aimed at targeting a reduction of the public debt to 60% of GDP by 2031. The government of Belize's recovery plan is such a fine balancing act, end quote. The Prime Minister has warned that if they do not save $80 million in wage cuts and increment freezes, the next step would be an IMF agreement, which would result in retrenchment. But the Belize National Teachers Union doesn't want to hear it. This afternoon, after the IMF report came out, we spoke with the president of the BNTU about the initial sentiments coming from the union's membership. Via Zoom teleconference, she told us that the teachers are strongly resisting any suggestion of a pay cut.
What is the common sentiment that you are receiving at this time? So the suggestion by the government that this has to take place, that this pay cut has to happen?
Outright no. That has been the initial position. What teachers are saying, no, absolutely not. They don't feel that that is the only solution that the government can come up with. They feel that for too long we have been clamoring for change and for meaningful change, and that has not been happening. And so they think that at this point in time that there has to be some serious changes to the way we operate, in legislative changes, you know, a difference in how the government operates, you know, a change in their behavior in terms of spending before we can even get to that point that they would even consider a salary cut.
The IMF, I don't know if you've seen their most recent report on their visit to Belize. If we don't get our debt under control, we risk a devaluation of the Belizean dollar.
That may indeed be so, Daniel. You know, that we have to take a look at the wage bill. We have never said that is not needed. But what we are saying is that it's not the regular employee, the regular public service officer, or the regular teacher who has the bill where it is. Yes, combined, we account for a huge portion, but there are also those other persons who are getting huge packages as well. Those are included in there. And so if it is that we try to fix the situation by cutting people's salary, then it means that we have less spending money. So who will be the ones putting those monies or spending those monies out there? How will those businesses benefit from us getting a salary cut? And how will the economy benefit? So it didn't take us a year to get to where we are. And it certainly can't take us 3 months to fix what has happened over the past number of years. And so we have to look at it from that viewpoint, that there are other measures that the government can do in terms of collecting what is all you have to collect, you know, ensuring that they're not giving persons any passes in terms of paying their taxes that they have to pay, you know, going maybe to customs and you want to get a pass. Those things must stop so that those monies can be collected, and that will help the economy hugely. So it's not just about looking at salaries. There has to be other ways and means that we can do what we need to do to fix this economy. Nobody wants devaluation. It's not going to be good for any of us. We are paid based on our qualification. And so it doesn't matter how much work we put extra, we don't get any overtime. We have limited allowances that we get as teachers. Whereas on the other hand, the allowances are far better than what we have and more. And so again, we are looking, our teachers are looking at this thing being done fairly and in an equitable manner. And they don't feel that the government saying that they will give up 10% of their salary is fair enough because of what we have to give up and what we have to endure in just doing our daily jobs.
Later on in the news, we'll give a historical context into how the relationship between PM Briceño and teachers has changed now that his administration is the government of the day. Another group of public officers that is publicly rejecting the proposed salary cut is the Nurses Association of Belize. This afternoon, the association sent out a press release which says, quote, "We stand in solidarity with the Public Service Union and other unions in saying no to salary cut. We request that all ridiculous allowances be abolished. As nurses, we have sacrificed 24/7 since the start of the pandemic, and we continue doing so up to date. Many allowances have been removed from nurses, and yet we continue to sacrifice for the well-being of our nation. As we speak, Many nurses still have not been paid overtime hours owed to them for months now. Yet we continue pushing, sacrificing self and family time to cover hours due to the extreme shortage of staff within our hospitals. We will no longer tolerate any more to be taken away from us. This afternoon, the president of the association told us that his association's membership is making a clear stance.
The nurses are in a position where we have sacrificed, unlike what the Prime Minister has said. We have sacrificed so much, especially in the last year, when it comes to the crisis of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. And we have already gone through one increment freeze. To continue an increment freeze is bad enough. But now they are suggesting a cut in salaries. Now, while we agree that there has to be some cost-saving measures for the government to carry on its work, we have to be professionally and sensible. I mean, the government continues to waste millions of dollars in contracts, in things that aren't very important. I mean, yes, we want a good infrastructure. Yes, we want some of these things, but most of them has to be left until when we can afford them. So that's the position of the nurses. We are not saying that it is impossible for us to do a cut, but come on, I would say that should be one of the last resort they would even mention, to even contemplate doing, to help the country to save money.
Sir, the Prime Minister seems, based on his public declarations, to think that we are at the last resort.
If a wage cut is so imperative to getting the debts under control, why has the government gone and issued another $3.5 million in new hires? Why has the government gone to over the past year? They have keep on with all of these ridiculous allowances. They have hired a variety in professional context. I don't want to use the words that I want, but so many new contracts in a time when you're telling me that you don't have money. You want to cut the wage bill, but you're adding personnel on contract. Could most of these high-level positions, could they not have been filled by people that are within the system? You're saying the system is overgrown, but you are still adding to the system. So make up your mind. Do you have money to pay the people, or don't you have money to pay the people? If I didn't have money to pay people, then I wouldn't hire more. It doesn't make any sense. Also, when you put the 1 ton firing, in all honesty, they have steered away from the word retrenchment. But with all the dismissals that have gone on since this new government has taken over, all those people has to be paid off now, monies that you have to find.
But while the nurses are taking a stand against the salary cut, their minister is saying that they should reconsider. Today in Belmopan, we asked Michel Shabat how he felt that his public officers in the health sector, who have been at the front line since before the start of the pandemic, are now faced with a possible cut to their salary. Those in that sector have risked their health and have worked long shifts for months. But Shabat didn't want to get into it today. As he turned to walk away from the media, he said, everybody has worked extra hours.
We have taken our 10% salary cut as of January. That was a cabinet decision, and that is implemented. And so we're doing our part. And listen, I think at the end of the day, as Belizeans, we must all sacrifice something for the greater good. Thank you all very much.
Sir, but your public officers are saying, sir, that they are working extra hours. We all work extra hours. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
But the Prime Minister yesterday suggested to us that Shabat is the one who should have worked some extra hours, finessing the Dr. Manzanero affair. Removing him from the apex position in the Ministry of Health hierarchy has unfolded as a public mess, hemorrhaging goodwill for the government a public officer who became a well-liked public figure during the first 9 months of the pandemic. Yesterday, the PM conceded it could and should have been handled differently.
The issue of Dr. Manzanero, maybe you haven't seen it, NTUCB issued a statement today. It's an issue that won't go away, sir. And I see you shaking your head in exhaustion, and right that you should. Don't you marvel, sir, at how badly this has been mishandled? I mean, it really, if this has happened, if DHSs have been deposed quietly in the past, or transferred, given the same salary, that sort of thing, isn't it saying something about the management style of your government or the Minister of Health and Wellness that this one has been so badly mismanaged?
Well, there's nothing to marvel about that, actually. And I wish that it would have been done differently. I wish we could have done it better. I don't think there was no need to have a public fight. I believe that if we could have sat down from early and explained to Dr. Manzanero that we want to take a different approach to things, that I think reasonable minds could have prevailed. But it did not happen. And we have to learn from these. We're still a young government, and we have to learn from this and to make sure that it does not happen to us again.
So what does the health minister think of the Prime Minister's acknowledgement that the Dr. Mansa matter was indeed mishandled? He told us today that he respectfully disagrees. He also added that the NTUCB's recent show of support for Dr. Manzanero is 13 years too late.
I respect the view of our Prime Minister. However, I just want to clarify that everything we have done is in accordance with the advice we've been receiving from the Ministry of the Public Service as well as the Attorney General's Ministry.
So today is day 10 for Dr. Manza to respond to those accusations. Has he responded?
I have not yet been to the ministry, so I'm not aware.
So, and what do you think about the NTUCB's now support for Dr. Manza in this case?
That is fine. I think they should have stepped up for the past 13 years with the mass amount of corruption that we saw. All of a sudden, they're now stepping up, but that's fine.
While the health minister can't get the unions on side for the Dr. Mansa matter, the Prime Minister's statement about the supposed limited talent pool in Belize is still reverberating across the memescape, which has not been kind. So we asked the PM yesterday about whether laws should be enacted to outlaw nepotism. That's the same thing we had asked his Minister of Infrastructure, Development and Housing, Julius Espat, 2 days before. Espat said there should be such a law. The PM said it's not realistic because of, you guessed it, that limited pool of talent.
Is it time for Belize to consider some form of an anti-nepotism law?
I think we would want to start off by saying that we just can't take everything where the bigger countries have done well and apply it to a small economy like ours. Whereas in the United States, they have about 325 going to 350 million people. We have 400,000 people. And so you have a small pool to choose from. I'm choosing my words very carefully.
So, but what you're
saying,
like
listen,
you're saying
let me finish, please. That you have a small pool to choose from. Now, what is more important, that anybody that we put in those positions have to be qualified and can make a difference in serving where they are, and thirdly, to ensure that they are not enriching themselves nor their families. And once we can do that, then we're going to be fine.
Your Minister of Infrastructure, Development and Housing, appearing last night on Uncut, said that he supports such legislation.
I saw the blood fest last night.
He says he supports such legislation.
And that's fine. I think he probably really does, or you just throw it at him and say, yes, I will support. But if you take away the excitement and try to be rational, you can have some kind of legislation, yes, but it does not have to be as extreme as what we have in other countries, simply because we have a limited pool that we can access. And once you do that, then you start to cut out all of these people, and then what you end up with is not necessarily the best persons that you would want to put in these positions.
But really, sir, it's a limited pool of people who are willing to toe the party line above all else. It's a limited pool of people who are willing to put the PUP or the UDP first. That's where the real limit is. That's my experience. We're full of highly educated people who flee this country because there's no opportunity for them. Because people in authority, the previous government and yourself, refuse to put any confidence in them because they don't think in partial terms. They think.
But we have brought in a number of people that are not necessarily partisans in our boards. But at the same time, we were elected under a PUP government, not as an independent. So it is obvious that we will find the best people within our party that can do the job. It does not mean that because you're a PUP, you're going to go in there and do as you wish because you're a PUP.
And later on, the PM says he doesn't know about a special permission that Minister Julius Espat got from the GG. But also coming up, when yoga goes nude, we'll talk to one practitioner that shed her clothing to show what's within her skin.
Un lugar de trabajo seguro y saludable protege a usted y a los suyos en su hogar. Todos debemos implicarnos y cumplir con las medidas para prevenir el contagio del virus. En el lugar de trabajo, practique siempre hábitos seguros y saludables y mantenga los lugares de trabajo limpios y desinfectados. Adapte las condiciones y métodos de trabajo para reducir el riesgo de contagio. Utilice correctamente y en todo momento el equipo de protección personal. Si no se siente seguro, dígalo. Su seguridad y salud es la prioridad. Los trabajadores de primera línea están expuestos a un mayor riesgo y necesitan una atención especial. Coopere y apóyelos.
It takes all of us to stop the spread. A safe and healthy workplace is a better workplace.
Para obtener más información, visite www.covid19.bz. Un mensaje de la Cámara de Comercio e Industria de Belice y el Congreso Nacional de Sindicatos de Belice, en colaboración con la Organización Internacional del Trabajo.
The new Atlantic Bank chip and contactless cards reflect your payment needs. All Visa cards now include an embedded chip that generates a unique security code each time you perform a transaction, making it virtually impossible to copy your card. Use your card anywhere the Visa logo is displayed by either performing a contactless payment or a chip card payment. These new cards offer more security, acceptance, and convenience wherever you pay, giving you the peace of mind you need to enjoy life's special moments. Atlantic Bank chip and contactless cards. One card, two ways to pay.
Atlantic Bank, building the future together.
A workplace that is healthy and safe protects you and those depending on you at home. Prevent the spread of COVID-19 at work by following these steps. Always practice safe and healthy habits, like keeping your work environment clean and disinfected. Adapt working conditions and methods to reduce the risk of infection. Use personal protective equipment properly at all times. Speak up if you do not feel safe, because your safety and health is the priority. Frontline workers are exposed to a higher risk and need particular attention. Cooperate with and support them.
It takes all of us to stop the spread. A safe and healthy workplace is a better workplace.
For more information, visit www.covid19.bz. A message from the Belize Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the National Trade Union Congress of Belize in collaboration with the International Labor Organization.
When we started to build our house, we knew that we would have to enjoy living in it for the rest of our lives.
At Benny's, we found a large selection of exactly what we wanted.
Today our house is finished. The windows, doors, and door locks combine strength and quality to give our home a good feeling of security.
We are completely pleased with our kitchen, which features state-of-the-art Delta faucets and reliable GE appliances.
Our bath fixtures and accessories blends perfectly with the tiles that we paint.
We used warm paint colors that give a cozy effect, complementing our lights and fans.
From the grand entrance onto our beautifully tiled floors.
We are comfortable in our home, truly content with the knowledge that we did well shopping at Benny's.
Benny's and you, together we can make your dream house come true.
El contagio de la COVID-19 requiere que los negocios de todos los tamaños y sectores den máxima prioridad a la seguridad y salud en el trabajo. Los gerentes y empleados deben realizar evaluaciones de riesgos para identificar áreas y procedimientos que ponen en peligro las vidas y los negocios. 6 pasos para crear un lugar de trabajo seguro y saludable. 1. Identificar posibles fuentes de transmisión de virus. 2. Determinar quién podría estar infectado y cómo podría infectarse. 3. Discutir y decidir las medidas de prevención y control. 4. Implementar, comunicar y testear medidas. 5. Asegurar que el equipamiento de protección es adecuado para cada situación. 6. Mantener registros, revisar medidas y actualizarlas cuando sea necesario.
We must all do our part to slow the spread. A safe and healthy workplace is a better workplace.
Para obtener más información, visite www.covid19.bz. Un mensaje de la Cámara de Comercio e Industria de Belice y el Congreso Nacional de Sindicatos de Belice, en colaboración con la Organización Internacional del Trabajo.
Preventing the spread of COVID-19 at work requires that businesses of all sizes and sectors put safety and health first. Managers and employees should conduct risk assessments to identify critical areas and procedures that put lives and businesses in danger. Here are 6 tips for creating a safe and healthy working environment. 1. Identify potential sources of virus transmission. 2. Determine who might be infected and how. 3. Discuss and decide prevention and control measures. 4. Make sure the safety equipment being used is right for the situation. 5. Implement, communicate, and test measures. 6. Keep records, review measures, and update when necessary.
We must all do our part to slow the spread. A safe and healthy workplace is a better workplace.
For more information, visit www.covid19.bz. A message from the Belize Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the National Trade Union Congress of Belize in collaboration with the International Labor Organization.
Earlier, we brought you some comments from the Minister of Health. We caught up with him at the Western Regional Hospital after he joined the 2,000 plus healthcare workers who have gotten the jab. Shabat told us that he felt it was important for him to get vaccinated to instill confidence in Belizeans and to encourage them to get the shot when it's their turn. Courtney Menzies was there and has the step-by-step process of Shabat's vaccination.
The Minister of Health and Wellness is the latest public figure to get the jab of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. He took his shot at the Western Regional Hospital, and he was in and out in less than half an hour, looking a bit more chipper than when he first arrived. Minister, how do you feel right now?
Good. Thank God I don't feel any reactions at this time. I was vaccinated 20 minutes ago, and all is well so far. As you can see, the flow was really swift this morning. We went in and they took my biodata initially, and then the nurse came out and gave us a brief little talk about what to expect and what vaccination we were going to be getting. And then I was shown into the vaccination room where I was vaccinated, and I had to wait 15 minutes in the waiting area for observation, just to make sure that I did not have any adverse reaction.
And while Shabat is that much safer against the virus, his ministerial colleagues will have to wait to get their vaccinations. That's because they, along with the rest of the National Assembly, are in phase 2 of the rollout. So how did Shabat get to jump the line? He said he too questioned it before today.
Well, I am taking it as a part of the Ministry of Health and Wellness. When they calculated the numbers of health line workers that would have been included, the staff at the ministry was included, so I am part of the Ministry of Health and Wellness. I question that, but I believe as the Minister of Health and Wellness, it is important for me to show to the general public that I have confidence in the vaccine, and hopefully that will allow them to have confidence in the vaccine as well. And so I decided, although the National Assembly is not slated to go until the second phase, I felt it was important for me to step up and to be vaccinated at this time.
But was the minister at all concerned about reports of blood clots in those who have taken this very vaccine? He told us it's the opposite really, since there is no evidence that the two things are correlated.
We have obtained updated information coming out of Europe and coming out of the UK, which actually indicates that the benefit of taking the AstraZeneca vaccine far outweighs whatever risks might be associated with it. They have also said that out of the 5 million persons that were vaccinated, only 30 so far exhibited thrombosis. And they have also said that there's no direct link with the vaccine and the thrombosis. So I'm happy I took the vaccination. I have confidence in the vaccination, and that is why I felt it was important for me to step up and to take it to show that I am prepared to do that.
According to the minister, approximately 2,444 healthcare workers have been vaccinated so far, over 50%. Courtney Menzies, 7 News.
And while Shabat had no immediate reactions, he said the ministry is monitoring those who have been vaccinated already. He noted that there have been some minor symptoms reported, but nothing severe or worse.
We have been monitoring. I am happy with the uptake we've seen so far, and the reports we've gotten so far. It's varying. There are some people who have body aches. There are some people who have experienced vomiting. Some have experienced fever, and so we're seeing some symptoms. But thankfully, none of the symptoms we've seen so far have been severe.
And Shabat wasn't the only public figure to get vaccinated today. Former CEO in the Ministry of Agriculture and Ambassador Designate to Guatemala, Jose Alpuche, was also at the Western Regional Hospital today to get his shot. But he's not a healthcare worker, nor is he over the age of 60. So how did he manage to jump the line? We asked the minister.
He's leaving the country shortly to take up his position in Guatemala as our ambassador, and he did ask the Ministry of Health and Wellness for permission to be vaccinated before he left the country.
Is that how it works? Can permission be granted as requested?
Well, you know, we don't want to break protocol. We want the phases to be followed as strictly as possible, but neither can we be so rigid that we can't allow a couple exceptions to the rule.
And if seeing the health minister get his shot doesn't calm your nerves, we also spoke with the manager of the expanded program of immunization, Lilia Middleton. She explained how healthcare workers and those over the age of 60 can get their vaccines and what the process is like when they go in.
What we're doing right now is we're asking the public to register before they come for their vaccination. But we're also welcoming persons who would walk in also. They would come and go at an area where we do a brief educational session for them. Then they go at a triage area where we would take their temperature to see if anyone is having a fever or if they're okay. They do a brief questionnaire for them also to check that everything is okay with them. And then they would go to the data entry clerk so that they can get their name in the Belize Health Information System. From there, then they go to the vaccination site. They get their vaccine, then they go and they wait 15 minutes just in case there's a reaction to the vaccine. It takes more or less like 15 minutes for a person to get in the vaccination site. But there are some little bottlenecks that we're still working on. All the districts have started. We were doing the doctors and the nurses, those persons working in the healthcare system before. And after, this week should be that we should complete all the areas them with the healthcare workers them. Whoever hasn't gotten their vaccine as a healthcare worker and would like to come back for it, they are welcome to come anytime. After the healthcare workers, we're working now on the 60 plus. And so all districts have started on the 60 plus for this week. We have approximately 60,000 persons in the 60 plus range, so we need to vaccinate them. But remember that we only have 25,000 vaccines, so whenever that is finished, then we wait on the COVAX vaccine to arrive. They are catered for the ending of March and the first week of April that vaccine should arrive.
Following the vaccinations of elderly persons, phase 2 of the rollout program, will begin. $436,906.34. That's how much the former general manager of La Immaculada Credit Union must pay after a judgment was delivered by Chief Justice Arana. To summarize the chain of events, back in 2015, Yolanda Gomez took Likiu to court for unfair dismissal after 24 years of service. But an audit revealed that Gomez mishandled almost $500,000 during her tenure, which led the board of directors to file a countersuit against Gomez on multiple offenses, including fraud, forgery, unauthorized use of corporate credit card, and more. And it is not until 6 years later that the ruling has finally been made. According to a press release from Likiu, she has been ordered to repay over $430,000 in damages and legal costs to be determined. She can still appeal the judgment. We've featured Ashanti Airbender Garcia on the news many times, from yoga dance to Pilates and even motivational speaking. Indeed, this young entrepreneur has worn many hats in the wellness world. Tonight, she brings us what seems like a new concept, but it is in fact a practice that she claims to be as old as yoga itself. And while the nude yoga she's now practicing may be ancient, that doesn't mean it won't provoke argument and elicit harsh judgments in a conservative society. But the woman called Airbender is ready for it. I learned more in a sit-down at her studio this morning. It's the newest craze to hit the yogic world, a class that's freeing, primal, and authentic. It's called naked yoga, a new extreme in a science developed to help human beings access the sacred nature within. And one barrier to reaching that sacred nature could just be your clothing and the ego that comes with it. That's what Ashanti Airbender Garcia believes, and why she's taken to teaching an online international naked yoga class. It's a teaching gig that may seem daunting, and we had to ask her if the class is true to its advertisement.
As the instructor, yes, I am completely nude in the session.
Now, what's the purpose of that? I know you talk about self-acceptance, ridding yourself of insecurities, but what's the overall message and mission behind naked yoga?
Naked yoga is not something that's actually new. So I want to say that it's as ancient as yoga itself, over 5,000 years old. And back then there were people, a group of Indian yogis who practiced nudity as a spiritual practice. So that it's about getting rid of the ego that surrounds clothing, just being completely nude and be in the way that you were born. So by me being nude and the students being nude, it's sort of like an equal exchange of visual and energy. And when people see that I am not focused on, looking at your body parts, I'm focused on giving you an authentic experience to help you be comfortable in your body. Pretty soon, people forget that they are actually naked in the session.
And while naked yoga has a following in more developed countries, we wondered if it's caught on in Belize.
I don't have any local clients at this time, but if anyone who is here or who's a Belizean wants to join the session, then you're free. The sessions are open to people from anywhere in the world, including Belize.
Some people watching this may say that, it's part yoga class, but it's part peep show.
So the first guideline is that you have to have your camera turned on. So since it's an online class, you can, using Google Meet, you can choose to, turn on or turn off your camera, but we do not allow participants to have their cameras off. Everyone must have the cameras on. Everyone must agree to be respectful. If there is any misbehavior or any feeling of making others or myself uncomfortable, you're actually taken out of the session and there is no refund offered and you're not welcome back into the sessions.
And with those guidelines in place, Ashanti is set to lead her online classes. But we wondered what her fellow Belizean yogis make of this advancement in her practice. What's been the response from the wider Belizean yoga community when they found out that you were teaching this type of class?
I was a bit fearful that people would look at me negatively because of, again, they think naked, they think nudity, they associate it with just something sexual. But so far, there's just been a sense of curiosity about it, and some people saying that they want to join actually, and it's just maybe, trying to sort out logistics before they can join. So I'm hoping that in the near future, we will have local people doing the classes.
And if you're game to bear it all, you can book your $50 session with Ashanti at thebodypath.com.
This is the body that we have. It's our temple. So giving people the opportunity to do an activity that is as sacred as yoga, being naked, it opens their mind to saying and thinking, wow, I don't have to associate a naked body with anything sexual. A naked body is not inherently sexual, and this is probably one of the most powerful ways of teaching that message, because we're there doing a practice. We're not focusing on the nudity or seeing it in a way that is negative or sexual. So that's what I have to say, and you can really only experience that difference when you actually take the session yourself.
Cherise Halsell, 7 News. You can find out more about Ashanti's practice on her Airbender Facebook page or on Instagram at Ashanti Airbender. And a session of yoga might be just what you need to de-stress after you hear that the price of gas is going up yet again. Just 2 days ago, the price per gallon of regular gasoline jumped the $10 mark. And effective at midnight, it will be joined by the price of diesel, which will be increasing by 53 cents to $10.15 per gallon. The prices for premium, regular, and kerosene remain unchanged at $10.40, $10.06, and $6.75 respectively. And while those prices are tough, you'd be slightly consoled to know that at this time last year, premium gas was 52 cents higher at $10.92 per gallon, while regular and 17 cents higher at $10.23 per gallon. But diesel had just gotten a decrease and was at $9.24, 91 cents lower than it will be tomorrow. But one place you'll be happy burning that expensive gas is between miles 11 and 13 on the Philip Golson Highway. That was one of the worst stretches of highway in Belize, riddled with potholes. But now it's getting a hot mix treatment from Rodla Construction, who signed a contract with the Ministry of Infrastructure, Development and Housing for just under $2 million. It's one of a series of scores of contracts totaling about $12 million awarded by that ministry under limited tender procedures. We asked the Prime Minister about that practice of limited tendering.
And also, what happened here is that the work was so extensive and spread across that it was impossible to just give it to tender and give it to one contractor. We had a lot of small contractors. Some they work in some sugar roads, say by San Esteban, others they go by Blue Creek, others they by 7 miles in Cayo. They were all over. So we had to get all of these small contractors and say, guys, let's do it. But what is important though, is that you can go out there and you can see the quality of work that was done for the amount of money. That is unprecedented. I mean, even the highway that was in a deplorable state, even before the rains, the Northern Highway, And then with the highway, with the rains, and it got so much worse that I am told with hot mix that they are doing a mile for I think for about $850,000. It is admirable what was work, and I think that it would be good if the public and the media would give credit where due. Now, is it a practice that we want to continue? Absolutely not. Are we where we want to be? Absolutely not. But you have to give us some time to be able to get where we want, to be able to put everything in place so that we can be able to have the kind of transparency and accountability that we believe that is necessary in our government.
And while the PM praises the Minister of Infrastructure for getting value for taxpayers' money, what about a special exemption this minister got from the Governor General? It's a standard note to Parliament which allows his private firm, in this case, Structure Architects, to get public contracts from the government. We asked the PM about it.
Is it true that the Minister of Infrastructure Development and Housing has gotten a special dispensation from the head of state as necessary for his private firm to get contracts from the government?
I don't know if that is true. That has not been brought up to my attention. But what you do is that, for instance, you would get a special dispensation if your firm would one way or the other do some kind of business with the government. Right. So that it's the right thing is about openness and transparency that you can divorce yourself from that action should that happen. Whether Minister Julius Espat got that dispensation, I don't know, or probably I simply don't remember.
Speaking with Julius Espat via text today, he said, quote, "My private firm does not have nor intends to get contracts from the government of Belize. We have not done so for over 15 years, end quote. He added, "It is a standard note from the Governor General to say, should a company of which I am listed as a director should be at any time engaged in any work with the government of Belize, I will not be in any way personally engaged in that work. There is no work, there is no contract, there is no intent to enter into any contracts," end quote. We note that while it is a standard note, it has to be requested, and in this case, it was. We take a break now. When we come back, Mr. Program, his family builds on his legacy. You'll see how.
COVID-19 pandemic, a safe and healthy workplace is a better workplace. It reduces the risk of infecting workers and visitors. An unhealthy workplace makes problems that are common to a pandemic even worse, such as increased workloads, longer working hours, isolation, domestic violence, stress, anxiety, and depression. On the other hand, a healthy workplace protects people, allows businesses to continue operations, and keeps communities healthy. You can do your part by following these steps. Wear a mask that covers your mouth and nose. Stay at least 6 feet away from others. Wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. Look out for and follow all safety instruction signs. Stay at home and away from others if you feel ill. Speak up if you do not feel safe.
It takes all of us to slow the spread. A safe and healthy workplace is a better workplace.
For more information, visit www.covid19.bz. A message from the Belize Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the National Trade Union Congress of Belize in collaboration with the International Labor Organization.
The new Atlantic Bank chip and contactless cards reflect your payment needs. All Visa cards now include an embedded chip that generates a unique security code each time you perform a transaction, making it virtually impossible to copy your card. Use your card anywhere the Visa logo is displayed by either performing a contactless payment or a chip card payment. These new cards offer more security, acceptance, and convenience wherever you pay, giving you the peace of mind you need to enjoy life's special moments. Atlantic Bank chip and contactless cards. One card, two ways to pay.
Atlantic Bank, building the future together.
Durante la pandemia de la COVID-19, un lugar de trabajo seguro y saludable es un lugar de trabajo mejor. Esto reduce el riesgo de transmisión del virus entre trabajadoras, trabajadores y clientes. Los lugares de trabajo inseguros agravan los problemas durante la pandemia. Aumento de la carga de trabajo, jornadas laborales más largas, aislamiento, violencia doméstica, estrés, ansiedad y depresión. Trabajar de manera segura protege a las personas, permite seguir operando y mantiene a las comunidades saludables. Usted puede hacer la diferencia siguiendo los siguientes pasos: usando máscaras para cubrir boca y nariz, respetando el distanciamiento físico de 6 pies, lavándose las manos con jabón durante al menos 20 segundos, siguiendo instrucciones y señalización de seguridad y salud, quedándose en casa si está enfermo, diciéndolo si no se siente seguro.
It takes all of us to slow the spread. A safe and healthy workplace is a better workplace.
Para obtener más información, visite www.covid19.bz. Un mensaje de la Cámara de Comercio e Industria de Belice y el Congreso Nacional de Sindicatos de Belice, en colaboración con la Organización Internacional del Trabajo.
Congratulations to our Bellikin Papa Stopper winners today. Continue popping those stoppers out of Bellikin for a chance to win free beer, $20, $100, or $1,000. Papa Stopper!
Bellikin, the beer of Belize.
Un lugar de trabajo seguro y saludable protege a usted y a los suyos en su hogar. Todos debemos implicarnos y cumplir con las medidas para prevenir el contagio del virus. En el lugar de trabajo, practique siempre hábitos seguros y saludables y mantenga los lugares de trabajo limpios y desinfectados. Adapte las condiciones y métodos de trabajo para reducir el riesgo de contagio. Utilice correctamente y en todo momento el equipo de protección personal. Si no se siente seguro, dígalo. Su seguridad y salud es la prioridad. Los trabajadores de primera línea están expuestos a un mayor riesgo y necesitan una atención especial. Coopere y apóyelos.
It takes all of us to stop the spread. A safe and healthy workplace is a better workplace.
Para obtener más información, visite www.covid19.bz. Un mensaje de la Cámara de Comercio e Industria de Belice y el Congreso Nacional de Sindicatos de Belice, en colaboración con la Organización Internacional del Trabajo.
Yeah, I know him before he in my womb. From I know he nobody ever disrespected me. Because then he is who he is. He is gay, he is friendly, and everybody respectable. Just respect him for who he is, in a human being. Just the word hate means to me that no got no meaning because you know for hate. If I love everything, I appreciate. And living in Mapan, I live around Guatemalans, Hondurans, Spanish, Maya, Creole, Garifuna. As I said, growing up, right? They say love your neighbors. Neighbor need to look out for one another.
A workplace that is healthy and safe protects you and those depending on you at home. Prevent the spread of COVID-19 at work by following these steps. Always practice safe and healthy habits, like keeping your work environment clean and disinfected. Adapt working conditions and methods to reduce the risk of infection. Use personal protective equipment properly at all times. Speak up if you do not feel safe, because your safety and health is the priority. Frontline workers are exposed to a higher risk and need particular attention. Cooperate with and support them.
It takes all of us to stop the spread. A safe and healthy workplace is a better workplace.
For more information, visit www.covid19.bz. A message from the Belize Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the National Trade Union Congress of Belize in collaboration with the International Labor Organization.
Back in October, we brought you the tragic story of 36-year-old Gilbert Alamia, the performer known as Mr. Program, who garnered local fame for his anthemic hit, See I Rise. Program was murdered, fatally stabbed on order of a family member, and left to die in a pool of his own blood. And while Mr. Program was widely mourned, his death shocked and horrified his parents and many siblings. Still, it hasn't broken them. And tonight, there are sparks of creativity coming from Program's brothers, Trouble and Tremaine, as they present a new music video, a tribute to Program titled Till We Meet Again. Here's more. It's been 5 months since Belize lost dancehall reggae artist Mr. Program, a talented singer with a powerful voice, cut down far too soon. And this morning, we returned to his Kelly Street family home to speak to his 3 brothers about a heartfelt tribute, a song called Till We Meet Again.
Missing a brother, R.I.P. to a real G, legacy forever live on. Till we meet again. Life is so unfair, though you can't be holding on. You hate me for real, and me just can't fight it. Meet again. Life is so unfair, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Brother, how many times I tell me never follow people? How many times I tell us if I never follow friend, but I still do it now. Look what happened now. You was sing along with Bob Marley, them really hurt me. I have to see what them do to you. That's why at first me didn't want revenge, but God knows best. Me can't eat, me can't sleep, somebody pray for me. Well, the tribute, it just based on memories we had with him and the things he did for a lot of people and things he did for us and the impact he had on our country. We just do it because we are pushing his legacy. His legacy will continue through us. I just started writing on my sofa and tears were just pouring. I was just crying because I still couldn't believe I'm writing this song for my brother. You know? That's why I say it's just about pain, sorrow, and yeah.
And Trouble isn't the only Alamia brother on the track. He's joined in the second verse by Tremaine, who this morning told me about the song's powerful words.
Well, it really hit me emotionally, because you know, I take my one and only brother away, me try to push it, try to do it for my family. Actually, my brother Trouble, he inspired me to want to write music, and he get me in the game. We come to take over now, and we want to be number one best, and we want to push a legacy.
Another brother, Kareem, found himself in the Till We Meet Again director's chair. He says he'd envisioned the concept early on, and that he decided to release it on a Friday, much like the Friday morning when they got the news of Program's death.
I have visualized this from the music video from the day he died. Not hearing the song yet because the Trouble and Tremaine never make the song as yet. But then when I heard the song, then that inspired me to go all out. To bring an eye-opener to the country, to our country. Because that's what Mr. Program always do. Open people's mind and make them believe in themselves to know that they can do whatever they put their mind to. We all grew up in the struggles as brothers and sisters of Mr. Program, and even with the struggles, we not make that come between our love for each other. So with that loss, it was like so huge and heavy. We had tons and tons of love.
As for the fuss kicked up surrounding their brother's death and the lack of support for artists, Trouble says he's yet to see a change, but that he still has hope.
I really don't see any change as yet. Everything is still the same. A death has happened, and you know, people will say this and say that we need help, but as of now, I still not seeing anything change as yet. I just hope for the best to come in the future for all of us sometime soon. Till we meet again. Life is so unfair, though you can't be holding on. Yeah, me for real, and me just can't fight it. Meet again. Life is so unfair, yeah. Till we meet again. Life is so unfair, though you can't be holding on. Yeah, me for real, and me just can't fight it.
You can watch the whole Till We Meet Again video on YouTube on Trouble Music. That's M-U-Z-I-K. At the top of the news, we showed you what the president of the Belize National Teachers Union had to say about her membership's resistance to the pay cut that the Briceño government is suggesting. They're entering a period of confrontation with Belmopan at this time, but in the past, Briceño and the teachers have been allies. Tonight, we take a look back at how the dynamic between the two has changed. Daniel Ortiz has that report.
Back when he was opposition leader, John Briceño marched in solidarity with the teachers' union. He even spoke in support of the cause being championed by the educators.
We feel that we should stand up with anybody, any group, any organization that is prepared to stand up for Belize. The teachers decided to take their day off on Teachers' Day to stand up and to bring awareness about the issues or the challenges that we're facing.
A few months later, he once again found common cause with the unions, especially the BNTU, who were demanding that the Barrow administration sign on to the United Nations Convention Against Corruption.
We know that the only reason that they have said that they're going to sign it because they were afraid that the private sector, that the chamber and the Belize Business Bureau were at the point of saying we are going to shut down businesses until the government does something. So again, it's a delay tactic. They're saying, okay, we're going to sign it. I think it's on the 9th of December. We don't know. You know, all they want to do is to get these teachers back to the schools, want to make sure that the chamber does not and the Belize Business Bureau do not strike on them.
But now that he's Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, he's the target of their ire. The teachers are saying that they will not accept his government's proposed pay cut.
The message for today was simply to say, GOB, your first proposal is not accepted. Yes.
I have to pay my rent, I have to pay all my utilities, everything. And the expenses that I have incurred since COVID started in terms of my teaching, in terms of ensuring that the software is installed and taking care of my laptop and everything so that I can teach to the best of my capacity, all of that has been at my expense. So it isn't fair to me for the government to say to me now, take 10% cut.
And now, their one-time sympathizer has turned union antagonizer.
Only the teachers and the public service have not done any kind of sacrifice. Their salaries have been coming in every month.
We give so much out of our pocket to do our jobs. So much.
Reporting for 7 News, Daniel Ortiz.
Briceño has publicly identified with the struggle of the teachers by pointing out that his mother was a career educator, as is his wife. The PM's wife has gone from educator to the special envoy for families and children. Yesterday, she and the Minister of Education visited the Inspiration Center to take a tour, and they were joined by Rosana Briceño's predecessor, chair of the center, Kim Simplis Barrow. They received background information on the history of the center and learned about the current activities and programs being planned for the future. The non-governmental organization is planning to continue to reach out to children across the country and to expand towards teletherapy. The Ministry of Health is reporting tonight that there are no COVID-related deaths to report for Friday, March 12th. But there are 12 newly confirmed COVID patients and 15 new recoveries. Here's a more in-depth breakdown from technical advisor Kathleen Asueta-Cho.
A total of 780 samples were tested. Out of this, 12 samples have resulted positive for COVID-19. There are 15 new recoveries to report. Today, we also report that 2 infected persons are hospitalized. There is no one being treated at the intensive care unit. There are no new deaths to report. The cumulative report we are presenting is from March 2020 when we had our first case. The new total of active cases now stands at 61. These are those persons who have been confirmed and are within the time frame to transmit the virus. To date, 90,633 samples have been tested nationally. Out of this, 12,370 samples have resulted positive for COVID-19. There are 105 individuals newly under investigation. A total of 316 deaths have been reported, but we are pleased to report that there are 11,987 total recoveries. The heat map shows the districts mostly affected. The greatest number of cases are seen in Stan Creek and Belize districts.
And we asked the health minister to comment on these low numbers. He said the flattening of the curve is a collaborative effort. But even while the public and the ministry continue to do their part, according to him, the number of active cases are unlikely to reach zero.
I think yesterday we had 4 new positive cases, Dwayne, and over the last 2-3 weeks we've been seeing numbers below the double digits, which has been excellent for us. It shows that there has been great effectiveness in the approach taken by the Ministry of Health and Wellness. It shows that the public understand the seriousness and they are cooperating. And so I think what we're seeing is a combination of the Ministry of Health and Wellness, the healthcare workers and the public working together to flatten this curve.
We have 65 active cases right now. We're on the way to zero. We're so close, much closer than we were just a few months ago. Is there an estimated maybe timeline of when you think we will reach zero, and what will we do then to make sure it stays at zero?
Unfortunately, I don't think we're ever going to reach at zero. All the literature we've been seeing, all the science we've been seeing is that COVID will be with us for a long time. But the goal is to try to keep it at a minimum as possible. And so I don't think we're going to reach zero, honestly.
Shabat also said the ministry is concerned about the type of behavior that they anticipate will contribute to a spike during the Easter holiday. He also added, while the government has not decided to extend the current regulations in place, that the public should not be surprised if that is done following the expiration date on April 3rd. And the sanitation workers are hoping they don't join the numbers of the daily new cases before they get the vaccine. That's if they get it. If you look at the vaccine rollout phases, sanitation workers seem to have been left out. This is a major issue since they are out every day dealing with the public's refuse and are susceptible to the virus. Well, the health minister said, rest assured, everyone will be able to get the shot in due time.
This phase out and the categories that you see was designed by a group of technical people who sat down and saw the entire panorama and decided that these are the people who should go first and second and so on. And so we've just been relying on the technical advice from the people who sat down and put these phases together. I want to assure all the sanitation workers that in due course everybody will be vaccinated.
A few weeks ago, we told you how black-eyed beans crops had been affected by the infestation of a pest called thrips. Tonight, Baja says that this insect, which attacks beans and other legumes, has been detected in all bean-producing areas of Belize. It is found mainly in flowers, buds, and leaves, and it causes stunted growth deformation of the flowers and growing tips. Its main hosts include red kidney beans and black-eyed peas. But it is known to affect other hosts such as soybean, pigeon pea, lima bean, peanuts, other legumes, and even potatoes. Baja warns that if this pest is not adequately managed, damage to crops can reach up to 100%, as has been reported in some cases. An ongoing survey is taking place to determine the distribution and population densities, as well as the damage it has already caused. All producers of legumes, peanuts, and potatoes are advised to contact Baja or the Ministry of Agriculture if you suspect that this pest is affecting your crop. And that's all we have for you on 7 News Tonight, this Friday night. Thanks for watching. I am Cherise Halsall. You can find a stream of the news at 7newsbelize.com and on our Facebook page. And remember, wash your hands, wear a mask at all times in public, and keep your social distance. The curfew remains at 10 tonight, so please stay inside. Good night, stay safe, and join Indira Craig back here on Monday.